Hello and welcome to the Shinybees podcast, a podcast for those who like their knitting, comedy and yarn in equally large measures. I'm your host Jo Milmine and this is episode 91. Is that it?
I feel a need to laugh again with you, if that's alright. I need a drink, I need a friend.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the show. If you're a new listener today, welcome in. I hope you'll enjoy us and enjoy what you find here on the show. And if you're a returning listener, as always, it is an absolute pleasure to be hanging out with you again. How are you? I hope you've been well since last time I spoke to you on the show. It seems like there was a couple of episodes very quickly together, and then this week just seems like the longest week ever. But lots of things have indeed happened. But it did feel like a very strangely long week. I think because I normally do the podcast on Tuesdays, and it was ready on, I think, Sunday night or Monday morning. So it was a whole day early, so I feel like I've had an extra day of not recording before I have come to speak to you again. But it's a pleasure to be back as always, and as I say, there's been lots and lots of fun stuff happening, lots of things going on in the background over at Casa Shiny, and lots of lovely messages that I've had during the course of the week, some of which I am going to share with you today because they made me deeply happy. And I think that will be, obviously, if you get it, it will be funny for you as well. And I'm assuming if you listen to the podcast regularly, then you do kind of get my sense of humour. So I thought you all might want an update on our illustrious friend and delightful friend and assistant of the podcast, LJ, who ran the London Marathon on Sunday, just gone. She did finish it. She hasn't told me what time she finished it in yet, but she did manage it. She ran all the way, and bless her, she'd not having a very lucky kind of few weeks. She lost her eternity ring in North Greenwich on Saturday, was absolutely gutted, but luckily we managed to get it back on Sunday. So she finished the marathon and she had her ring as well back, which was really cool. I did say I would try and get her on the podcast this week to tell us how she went on, but she's a bit too busy this week. But I'll get her on soon, because I know a few of you have asked about her in a roundabout way, because nobody wants to ask about how sore her backside is. Least of all me, and I know her quite well. But yeah, I will get her on here so that you can hear about how it went. But yeah, it was a good weekend for her. A very successful weekend, considering the doctor said she couldn't do it. She just did what she wanted to do, and fair play. I do like someone with a set of proverbial balls, if you will. So well done to her on achieving that. I have some news and things coming up for you this week. Don't forget, on Saturday, if you're free, and even if you're not, cancel your plans. It is Yarn Shop Day on Saturday, the 30th of April in the UK. And if you're in or around Manchester, come on over to Countess Tunnock's studio. She's got a metric truckload. You could hear what I was saying in my head, couldn't you then? Let's talk about Freudian slip or whatever. A metric truckload of Tunnock's tea cakes. She put them up on Facebook yesterday. She got a whole box of Tunnock's tea cakes. She knows what I'm like, you know. I'm very easily bought when it comes to Tunnock's, and I'll be popping over there. She'll have her studio open, and the lovely, lovely, super nice Isla of Brit Yarn will also be there with loads of her British yarn. So it's going to be a great day. I'm looking forward to going over there with my good friend, the Gingerbread Bunny / Felthead UK, Sarah, and meeting loads of you over there who I know are going. Do let me know if you're going to be there. Don't hide. Don't be shy. Come and say hello. And you know, don't try and take the Tunnocks out of my cold dead hands, basically, because then there will be a fight. But it's going to be a great day, I'm sure. And if you're not local to the Manchester area, then have a look on the Let's Knit website. There'll be details of all the other yarn shops that are doing things for Yarn Shop Day. And if you're not in the UK, why don't you make a plan? with your friends or even by yourself, just make a plan to go visit one of your local yarn shops and show them a bit of love. That's what it's all about. So I'm very excited. I don't know if I'm going to get I would love to have the voodoo shawl finished by then, so I could just dramatically sweep in with my beaded shawl with 1,000 beads on it. But I've still got another third of a cast off to do. And then I've got to block it. So, when it is finished, it isn't going to be a case of, well, is that it? No, we're done. There's going to be a whole load of blocking as well, and it's a picot bind off. It's going to be totes painful. There should be a blocking service, a casting off service and a blocking service where it just comes back blocked, done. And I'm hoping then I can, build an outfit around that. Not that I'm overly bothered about that kind of like fashion or whatever drippy stuff. I'm all about the Tunnocks, frankly. But yeah, I could wear that then. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Be good to have a nice the first wear out. It's always good to like plan an exciting first wear out for your knitted projects, I think. So yeah, exciting times. So what else have I got for you today? It's going to be a lot of random chatter. Probably not going to be a super long episode. Got lots of irons in the fire at the moment over here, and just need to make sure I keep stoking the fire, if you will. And so I've got a few little bits of news about things that are going to be happening here, there and everywhere. I've got some chat about a new yarn that I've been sent to have a look at. And we'll see where it takes us after that. So grab yourself a drink, get your knitting, and we'll crack on with the show. Okay, so news, my darlings. I'm in one of those moods today. You're going to have to bear with me. So yeah, I have first up Enabler's Corner. As always, unless I forget, we have a corner of enabling in every episode that's not an interview, basically. And this week I have some stationery enabling for you. Stationery is in writing stock, cards, things, not stationery as in standing still. And that comes courtesy of my lovely friend and fellow podcaster on hiatus, Martine Ellis of iMake. She has recently she sort of found her calling and gone into surface pattern design, and she started to study that, and she's now decided to put a subscription box together. It's called the Me Box, which stands for Martine Ellis, ME, Me Box, and it's a monthly stationery subscription box. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, I just find that finding decent cards these days is quite tricky, and finding ones that not everyone else has and that are tasteful and nice and, convey the right kind of message for the different occasions is tricky. A lot of people can't be bothered with cards anymore, which is disappointing. But there's nothing quite like getting a really nice, pretty card that you want to keep, and I find it really hard to find them. So I generally go to Waterstones. That's the only place in town here where I can get decent, nice, tasteful cards. Because at one time, stationery was a reflection of your social standing and your personal taste, and nowadays it's kind of like an afterthought. And I really love to have on hand cards because I'm really busy, and I do tend to not necessarily have time to go or the facilities to go and find them, as I've said, or time to go and pick out the kind of cards that I want to send. And I also don't like to have the same cards as anyone else either. So obviously it's a little bit tricky to find that, and Martine sort of tapped into this kind of need in my life anyway, to have that sort of stuff to hand, and to make it convenient for you to have really pretty, nice cards or postcards or things to send to people, because I really like to send handwritten things to people, to show, if I'm grateful for someone's help, or if someone's been particularly supportive, or if someone needs cheering up. I like to send things to people, and that means you need a lot of nice cards, essentially. And I think people really enjoy receiving snail mail these days, because there's so much digital communication goes on, which is brilliant, but there's nothing that quite kind of matches that having something in your hand. I think as kind of makers and knitters, we're very tactile people. We like to have things in our hands. So she's created this monthly subscription box, and what you get is essentially a variety, like a little surprise, little kind of spoiling for you surprise, and then some gorgeous stationery to go with it. So there could be things like little art prints that she's written or drawn herself or designed, greeting cards, postcards, colouring pages. And then there's always like a little sort of treat for you in there as well, because it's nice to send out love into the world, but everyone likes a treat for themselves, and we deserve a treat for ourselves. And everything is designed by Martine. It's all printed in Guernsey. Everything is done locally, which again I really like, because it must be difficult to find that sort of thing on Guernsey because it's not the biggest of places. And, you know, to keep all of that kind of local provenance is really good as well. Obviously, full disclosure, she is a friend of mine, but, you know me, I'm only going to recommend things, even if people are my friends, that I really like myself, and it is definitely something that I've struggled with. And as I said, Waterstones is the only place that I managed to get anything. Now, the brilliant thing about the Me Box is it's £15 per month, inclusive of postage. So when you're looking at like what it's going to cost you in Waterstones to go and get cards, they're all at least £3 each. It seems like a really good deal to me, you know, like quite good value as well. And, you know, once you took the postage off and all that kind of thing, you're getting a really decent deal for your money, and you're always going to have beautiful cards there, which is a bonus. Big Billy bonus to me. And so I thought I would enable all of you to that as well, because I know a lot of you guys like to send handwritten cards too. So you can find everything you need to find about the Me Box at martinellis.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. She's done an unboxing video, and that shows you what was in the first box, basically. You can go and have a look at that. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It says, "Take me to the unboxing" on the button. You can go and have a look and see what came in the box. But it looks really good. I can't wait to see what else she comes up with and develops to go in these boxes afterwards. She does have a lovely taste, and not just the same old stuff. It is a bit different as well, which again is always good. So that is me enabling you to the Me Box by Martine Ellis. So a quick bit of news then, all Scottish based news. Not in Scotland anymore, it's a bit disappointing, but I have a lot of Scotland based workshoppy, yarn showy type stuff for you that I'll crack through quickly before I share some listener email stuff with you. First up is the Loch Ness Knit Fest. Why do people pick things that are really hard to say? It is taking place from the 29th of September to the 2nd of October 2016 in Inverness, which is in the Highlands, basically. And it's going to be a 4-day event. There's going to be loads and loads of stuff going on. Workshops, lectures, marketplace, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a cruise on Loch Ness. And it's all based around Eden Court, which is like a kind of concert venue, cinema, arts type place in the middle of town. You can walk there from the train station. It's next to the cathedral. And it looks like it's going to be a really good event. It's the first year it's going to be taking place. And I'm a bit jealous that as soon as I move out of an area, everything kicks off. Because it's only sort of 45 minutes on the train for me from where I used to live, as opposed to hours and hours and hours that I was used to. And it looks like it's going to be a really good event. You can find everything you need to know about that at lochnessknitfest.com. And if you're going to be travelling for the event, which most of you will be, you can get a train to Inverness. And from Wigan, it's about 7 hours. And you can fly there, so I would probably go for flying there. Don't be mistaken by the fact you could fly to Aberdeen and get a train. The train is a good 2 hours from Aberdeen, so I would go for flying straight into Inverness Airport itself if I were you. But it is reachable, and it's a beautiful area. It's a really great place to visit, and lots of nice kind of pubs and bars and shops and things as well to look at. So that's the Loch Ness Knit Fest. Also, yarn news for Scotland, Pitlochry on the 7th of May, so that's coming up next weekend, there is a yarn show at the Athol Palace Hotel in Pitlochry, which is sort of near Perth. It's sort of the southern end of the Highlands. It's on from 10 till 5, and there's, there's going to be lots of activities and yarny vendor type people there, along with some other things. And the Dingwall Auction Mart is having the Highland Wool Fest on the 21st of May. I've talked about the Highland Wool Fest before. I have been and really enjoyed it. I think it's a cracking little show. You get lots of different stuff there, and well worth the visit if you're up and around that area on holiday or even for a long weekend. You can find out everything you need to know about the Pitlochry and Dingwall yarn shows at highlandwoolandtextiles.co.uk, and I will put a link in the show notes to both of those. So, I love getting emails from listeners. It does make me really happy. I don't always get to reply straight away, but I promise I do try to reply to everyone. And if I forget, just email me again, because it will be genuine that I've just looked at it in the middle of the night or something and then promptly forgotten. First up, a shout out to Darcy Doodledee. He sent me a message on Ravelry to say, "I just love your podcast. Hope your friend's ass is better." Me too. I'll ask her. I'll pass on your good wishes. Thank you. See, I just love that. I love normal people who were just like willing to get involved and have a bit of a laugh and don't take themselves too seriously and don't spend all their time navel gazing and overthinking everything. Life's for living, guys. Just have a laugh. Talk about LJ's ass or whatever else you want to do. To just have fun. You know what I mean? Have a bit of a sense of humour. Love it. And then I got another email from Lisa. You're so nice, Lisa. And she basically says hello and she's enjoying catching up with all the other shows. And then she said, and I'm going to read it out because I like it. And she said, "As I said at the start of the email, I've not been knitting for all that long. The first real thing I made was a shawl. While knitting it, I made a rather big mistake, so I had a bit of a fussy lala and a few tears, and somehow I ended up watching Stephen West's Baby You're a Knitter video." See, this is what I mean. You've got to have a sense of humour. "It made me laugh so much and then I slowly unknitted each stitch and corrected what I thought was the end of the world, but really was more of a molehill, all the while saying to myself, 'You're a knitter, not a quitter.' Anyway, I emailed Stephen West to say how great I thought his video was and how happy it made me when my knitting was going wrong. And within an hour, he sent such a sweet message back. So listening to your interview with him was great. Knitters are very nice people. And on the whole, they really are. And, big up Westy, fair play. Westy's also one of those people that like to take the mickey out of himself and have a bit of a laugh. And some people just take it way too seriously. He's just mucking about. He's not taking the mick out of anyone other than himself. And obviously, him taking the mickey out of himself is helping poor old Lisa, who's having a nightmare with her shawl. And we've all been there. We have all been there where you've wanted to throw it across the room or just, hissy around and have a bit of a flounce or just cry about it. I never really get to the crying, but I definitely get into the throwing part. And we've all felt like that about our knitting at times because, yeah, it's good and it teaches us lots of important stuff and patience and, all that kind of jazz. But sometimes it just goes wrong and sometimes that's really, really frustrating. And bless him, Westy, taking the mickey out of himself with the Baby You're a Knitter video has cheered someone up. And fair play, Lisa, to thinking back and just knitting it again. As Helen said in the last episode, just take it back, just re-knit it. It feels painful, but you're not going to regret re-knitting it. You just need to go back and fix the things that are broken there and then. And life lessons we can all live by. I do really like Westy. He definitely has a kind of persona for the public. like his theatre, his kind of West Knits as an alter ego, but when you speak to him one-on-one when he's not West Knits and he's just Stephen, he's really cute. He's so sweet, bless him. And I have a radar for idiots, I really do, and he's not. He's a sweetheart. He's just having a laugh like most people are. You can't get through life taking yourself too seriously. If you haven't seen his Baby You're a Knitter video, I'm going to embed it in the show notes for you, because It's just classic. So at one point he's wearing a toilet seat as a necklace, and yeah, he gets a set of balls out of his pocket in his pants. I think it's really funny. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. And obviously Lisa enjoyed it enough to go and unknit a mistake. So yeah, thank you very much for writing in, Lisa. I do love very much to hear from listeners, and useful life lessons for you all there. If in doubt, go and watch what would I'm getting confused now. Go and watch Stephen's video and have a giggle at it. It is very funny. I'll take my personal view on life, and that is this: if in doubt, ask yourself, what would Grace Jones do? For those of you who are familiar with Grace Jones, just say, you know what, this has happened. What would Grace Jones do? You won't go far wrong. You won't go far wrong in life if you just channel Grace, in my opinion. So thanks very much for that, Lisa. And for everyone else who's written in, I will get back to you all soon. But yeah, baby, you're a knitter. You're a knitter, not a quitter. And his other West Knits videos are quite funny as well. So we'll definitely put those links in the show notes for you. So on to a bit more yarn. So some more yarn then. As I mentioned, I was very kindly sent some very lovely new yarn to have a look at. This yarn has come from Joy at the Knitting Goddess, who, if you're not familiar with her, is a hand dyer based in Harrogate in North Yorkshire in the UK. She was previously on the south coast of England, and she's been dyeing yarn for a good number of years now. She's definitely one of the old hands, if you will, at dyeing. That's not calling Joy old, obviously, because I know she listens to the podcast. But, you know, she's one of the veterans, if you will, of dyeing, and one of my favourite dyers in terms of the hand-dyed yarns, and one of the first UK dyers that I got really into. She's had a few different bases that I've really enjoyed, and the Brit Sock being one of them. She did produce a colourway for the Golden Skeins Spring Quarter on the Brit Sock yarn, which is a blend of Wensleydale alpaca, what else in it, mohair, and another one. I'll have to look it up. I should know it off by heart. I normally know them off by heart, but we're not here today to talk about Brit Sock anyway. We're here to talk about the new yarn, which is totally British 4-ply. This is a blend of 85% UK Wensleydale and 15% UK Shetland yarn, and it is 100% grown, processed, spun and dyed in the UK. So unless you're a bulldog, you don't get much more British than this yarn. It comes in at 400 metres per 100 gram skein, and it retails for £18.50 per 100 grams. I was sent a skein of this yarn in the red colourway to have a little bit of a play with, and that is what I am doing at the moment, because you know how long it takes me to knit things. I didn't want to make you wait until the very end of knitting it before I actually started to give you a few thoughts on it. And you'll hear more thoughts on it as I kind of go on through the project, and you hear about the project in the Whipping Piccadilly section, as you normally do. You'll hear more of what I think about the yarn, but I wanted to kind of put it out there with some first thoughts for you, and we'll discuss it more as we go along. Obviously I was sent red as a colourway because red's my favourite colour, even though I almost exclusively wear navy, grey and mint green. Not all together, but I absolutely love red. It's my favourite, and Joy knows this, so she sent it to me in the red colourway. Now, it isn't a clear red, and you know I like a clear red because it has, on the natural colours of the fleece that's used to spin this yarn, you can see the grey of the Shetland mixed in with the lighter colours of the Wensleydale. Now, this gives the yarn some really interesting tones, and it gives the colours, obviously, that are dyed onto it quite a lot of depth when they're on the darker fibres, and it produces a really interesting sort of almost marley effect, and which just gives it a little bit more a bit more something than your average kind of merino. You know, you get a merino or even a BFL, it'll be a really clear colourway, and they are beautiful, but they tend to be not, they just don't have that much to them, unless it's a very good dye and they've done a lot of layering when they've dyed it. They quite often, for me, don't have a great deal to them. That's not to say I don't like them, but they don't have that much kind of character. This has a lot of character because not only have you got the darker grey parts that are picking up the colours in different ways and obviously playing off the lighter parts that have picked up colours and again in a different way, but you've got that lovely sheen as well from the Wensleydale that makes it really shiny to look at, almost like silk in some parts, in the lighter parts where it's not, taking the dye as well. It does have quite a silk-like appearance, and in the hand it's not merino. So let's just put that out there now. It's not merino. It's never meant to be merino. It's never gonna feel like merino. It does have a little bit of a tickle in the hand, and if you rub it on your face again, you can feel a bit of a tickle, not a scratch. A tickle, totally different, which you expect from this sort of yarn, to be honest. You don't pick this kind of yarn if you want some buttery soft, melt in the mouth, melt in the hands, melt on your feet, because that's what's going to happen with merino yarn. You're not saying merino doesn't have its place, because I do love a good merino, but this is not merino. It's nowhere near merino. But the benefit of it being nowhere near merino is that it has its own unique properties that go along with, that really high percentage of long wool. And the Shetland, which just gets better and better. The more you wear and wash Shetland, the better it gets. And the same can be said for Wensleydale. It does become a lot silkier and a lot shinier as you wash it and wear it. So in the hand for knitting then, it does feel quite rustic to me, compared to what I'm used to. It feels quite stringy in the hand, because you've got those slightly tickly fibres that are coming off it, and there is a pretty decent halo with the fibres. So it does feel robust, but yet there's quite a bit of give when you're knitting with it. It's got a bit of twang, but there's also a reasonable amount of give, which is strange, really. You'd kind of expect it to be one or the other. Twang being a very kind of technical term, of course. But there is quite a bit of stretch and bounce in it, which is surprising. I would have expected it to be a bit flatter and not quite so bouncy as it is. But bounce is not a bad thing. Just a kind of passing comment, really. It's just not what you expect when you first get hold of it, at all. In the knitted fabric, then, it's coming up nicely. There's some pretty decent definition. Obviously, not necessarily the definition you get on a high twist, but very, very pretty and neat looking stitches in this yarn, which I am enjoying. And it doesn't feel splitty to me at all. I'm finding it quite easy to work with, and it's turned into quite a nice fabric. Now I've got high hopes for this for when it's washed and worn a little bit, because of the fibres that have been used. Because you've got that lovely Shetland and the Wensleydale, it's going to be like a wine, really. It's going to improve with age. It's not like your merinos where it's bobbling within 30 seconds of you pouring it on. That isn't going to happen with this yarn. It's just not going to happen. But I'll be interested to see, as the washing and wearing goes on, exactly how it matures as a finished sort of knitted object. Definitely one for you if you want to try something a little bit different, a different blend, because I've not seen this blend anywhere else. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've not seen it anywhere else. I think it is an exclusive for Joy. And if you've been inspired to try different breed yarns in particular, it's quite accessible. It's been specifically picked for that reason, I think, to be something different and to take in those brilliant properties of that long wool without being so far out there that you're too afraid to use it. It is accessible for a breed yarn, because a lot of us never go much further past merinos or BFLs. You're definitely not necessarily going to go into, I love the Wensleydale and the mohair and stuff. I'm quite happy to crack on into that, but a lot of people would be a little bit intimidated by perhaps using that or trying that. because they're not quite sure how it's going to behave and how it's going to come out and what the knitting experience is like. So I think it is pretty accessible. I think it's something worth giving a try if you are new to breed yarns and you want to crack out a pair of socks, for instance, in this. I think would be brilliant and would wear really well because of that long wool. That long staple is going to give you plenty of strength in there. I don't know how it would turn out as a pair of not a pair of mitts, as a shawl. Mitts would be brilliant as a shawl, being close to your neck. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I've got it up to my neck without washing it, and there's a tickle, but it's not prickly. You'd have to try. It depends how sensitive your skin is, I would say, but completely suitable for mitts and things like that, and hats as well. In particular, it does look to be quite a fine gauge yarn. There isn't a lot of air in it, a lot of volume in it as a yarn itself. So, you're going to have to have a look at that when you're doing your pattern and see how it turns out and how it's, swatch first if you've not used it before to make sure that it works out the way you want it to. But I really like it. Like I said, I think it's fun. I think it's accessible. I think it's a good gateway, if you will, into the more what I think of as being the more hardcore sort of breeds and yarns. And if you are a big hand-dyed fan, it means you can experience that whole different breeds without having to go with like brown or beige or grey. I like grey, but a lot of people, they like hand-dyed yarns because they like bright colours, not because they like natural shades. And I'm one of those people. I don't like natural shades of yarn. I just find them a little bit boring, just because I like colour. So it's good for that as well. It gives you that ability to try a different breed yarn without having to go down the blanderizer route, as I call it. No offence to anyone, if you like natural shades, crack on. I like nothing more for people to knit something they enjoy looking at. And I know a lot of you are mad keen on, fleeces in their natural beauty, and that's good. I don't. I like colour. So that's why I like it when people or hand dyers will get a different blend and then they dye it up in their own style as well, because it means I can enjoy both things in one handy package. So they're my first thoughts on Joy's totally British 4-ply. And as I say, it's 85% UK Wensleydale, 15% UK Shetland, 100% grown, processed, spun and dyed in the United Kingdom. And it retails for £18.50 per 100 grams, and you get 400 metres for that. You can find Totally British 4-ply over at the Knitting Goddess website, which is www.thenittinggoddess.co.uk. Word of warning: don't subscribe to Joy's newsletters unless you want to spend all of your money on Joy's yarn. And I would heartily encourage you to do so. But yeah, temptation abound, and every week at that. She does some beautiful stuff. She does some great merinos. She does some awesome self stripes. She does loads of really nice yarns, as well as the Totally British 4-ply. So head on over there and give her stuff a check out. And if you have already used this yarn, it was launched at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, so it's not the oldest yarn in the world. It's only been out for just over a month. If you've used this yarn, pop over to the group and let me know what you think about it, and we can get a bit of a sort of opinion going on that, and what you've used it for as well. So I said we'd figure out at the end where the show would take us. And it's come back to the old stationery, actually, because I feel like I need to explain the title of the show, because a few people this week have been massively overanalyzing things that I've said, and that's all I will say on the matter. But I feel like I need to kind of explain the title of the podcast, and the title is that it? And I've just been a bit this week overwhelmed by the enormity of the stash. I've been working on that voodoo shawl for ages now, so I'm kind of heads in with that. And actually acquired another skein of the red yarn from Travel Knitter, so that would be like 3 skeins that I've had to myself now, but bought my own yarn back off my own customers to have another one of it. And Jem, little grey girl Jem, was looking for a grey yarn to go with a project for one of her golden skein yarns, and I was like, oh, I've got this grey, these do this kind of grey and they do that kind of grey. And I opened the box and realised there was grey yarn in there that I forgot I even owned. And then I found another thing that I was like, that's really pretty, forgot I owned that. And went over to my pile of what in my head is podcast prizes, whereas in reality 2 of them are podcast prizes and the rest of it is my yarn. And just thought, oh God, all this stuff's mine as well. And then finally just got a bit of a sort of like, you know when you forget something you like and you get that kick in the stomach when you've forgotten it. It was like that. And it was the Countess's fault. The neon green, yellowy highlighter colour that I bought from her at Christmas. Or was it before Christmas? It was. And I'd forgotten I even had that. And that was on my desk for about 2 months. And I'd forgotten I even owned it. And I just thought, this is actually ridiculous now. There's yarn in here that is beautiful that I don't know I have. I don't have time to knit it. It's all just too much. It's a bit too much. It's like having, when you get to a point where you eat too much. There is a point where you eat too much cake and you don't want any more. The same applies for sushi. I think I'm at that point with yarn. And I'm like, is that it? Am I at the point now where I do finally say, no, I don't want to buy anything. No new yarn, and I just want to work through what I've got. And I think I might be. I think I might be at that point, I really do. Unless there's something that comes along that I desperately want to knit and I don't have the yarn for, I think I'm at that point. I think that is it. I'm full. I'm done with buying more yarn. So we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Probably going to buy some at the weekend now that I've put it out there and said it, because that's how it goes, obviously. But there just comes a point where you're like, no, I just want to release the skeins. I don't want to collect any more of this stuff. I want less of everything. And I want more. I mean, obviously once you've knit them, they turn into stuff to wear. But you can gift some of them, give them away or to make someone else happy or what have you. But I just feel like those 8 boxes and several piles around the house need to just become a lot less. They need to become 1 box and actually be used, because some of that stuff's been in there for nearly 4 years and it's just ridiculous, basically. So I think, is that it? That is it for my yarn buying for now. I'm pouring it out there. I'm not going to say the words, Charlie Sierra. I'm not going to say it out loud, because if you say it out loud, I'll feel like I'm stopping myself having things, and I will have to rebel at my self-imposed not buying of yarn. But yeah, is that it? I think that is it, yeah. So we'll see how we progress with the knitting. But I know a few people get to this point where they're like, oh, I've just got too much. So I might go back and listen to Curious Helen's D-Stash, Love Your Stash episodes from January, perhaps, to have another think about what I've got and see if there's anything I could maybe lose and gift a bit. And I need to definitely just start working through what I've got and stop accumulating more. Less is more. That's my new motto. Less is more. Commit to knitting the stuff you have. So that is all we have time for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Feel free to get in touch with me and tell me what you think, or if you've got any comments, queries, etc. You can contact me on the details in the outro. Join me next week for another interview. I have the fabulous Estelle Faust of Midwinter Yarns coming on to the show to talk all things yarny and business with us. She's a great laugh. I really enjoyed listening to her stories about how growing up in Sweden have influenced her as a knitter and as a business. So join me next week for that. But in the meantime, I hope you will have a great week. Happy crafting, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye. You've been listening to the Shinybees podcast, a podcast for those who like their knitting, comedy and yarn in equally large measures. If you'd like to get in contact with me, you can do so via the blog, or I'm Shinybees on Ravelry, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest and Facebook. You can email me at shinybeesinfo@gmail.com. Music for this episode is provided by Music Alley, and it is Adam and the Water Boys and I Need a Drink.
I need a drink.